Hello, everybody.
Hi everyone, thank you for tuning in.
My name is Serge, and this is my wife.
My name is Claude.
Welcome to our home. Last week was Suicide Prevention Week, and I know it was a tough time for many people, as many of us have lost loved one due to suicide. Now, I remember a few years ago, one of my friends, a young man in his 20s basically, he was doing pretty good in life. He had a master's degree, have a good job, traveling all over the world, have a beautiful girlfriend. So everything seems to be going well until one day the cops found him in the hotel room with a gunshot wound. He killed himself. You see, suicide is the second leading cause of death in the world among people from 15 to 29 years old. And you can see this age period basically is the transition period, the time where we are going from adolescence to adulthood. And a lot of people are killing themselves. And one of the main cause is depression. So today we want to talk about depression. Welcome to Wellbeing Makes Sense.
So, I work in the ER, and a lot of my patients, we go back to, ask them, what's your medical history? What's your past medical history? And surprisingly, a lot of these patients have depression in the medical history. So depression is very, how much? 300 million affected worldwide. According to one of my sources, 7.6% of Americans from the ages of 12 and over suffer from severe depression.
So what is depression?
So depression is a disorder that basically there's no straight pathophysiology behind it. So in layman's term, we can describe it as, a change in behavior. You can describe it as a decreased mood, a state of prolonged deep sadness.
Yeah. And I think that's pretty tough to diagnose, right? Because you can't really...
There's no blood work. There's no blood work to really say, oh, okay, this is you're depressed because this shows in your blood.
Yeah. But how can we recognize it? Like, what are the signs, and what do we look at? What do we look for when we are thinking about depression?
So, again, if something you enjoyed in the past and now you have no reaction to it, you are unable to concentrate, you're sleeping a lot, or have difficulty sleeping, fluctuation in your weight also. These are the physical signs. Other things you would want to add?
Yeah, there's quite a list really, and we can go to some quickly. You have prolonged sadness and crying spells, and we talk about changing appetites, and this can be a decrease or an increase. Some people, when they are depressed, they just don't feel like eating even though they are hungry. They just not interested in food. While others, when they are depressed, that's all they want to do. You know? So
A sense of worthlessness, having a flat mood or affect, being indecisive. You were once able to make a decision about, daily activities. You cannot decide easily.
and a feeling of guilt, loss of energy. You just don't feel like waking up in the morning. You know, don't even though you have a list of things to do, you just don't feel like doing it. You have your kids, maybe that you need to take care of, get them ready for school. You just don't feel like getting up to do anything.
Even though yourself, you know it's important, you just don't have the ability to function as you did in the past.
Yeah, and also the lack of interest in things that you loved in the past. You know, you're just not interested. You're not interested in seeing the people that you used to hang out with. You're not interested in the party that you used to go to. And probably the worst one, and the one that the doctors will really look for once you get to the ER. What's it?
It's your risk for suicide.
Yeah.
Are you having suicidal thoughts? Are you having plans for suicide?
And this is one of the questions that we cannot pass on. We have to ask it, because many times we have people who have these thoughts that their life is worthless, that the world will be better without them. So all these thoughts keep on going in their minds. So, and then one day they finally decide to act upon it. So it's very important. So to look at these signs, and don't be afraid to ask the question directly. Do you feel like you want to die? Do you feel like you want to kill yourself? You want to hurt yourself? It's a direct question. The only way we're gonna find out is by asking it. So we're gonna, as we are going through these symptoms, I think that it's important that we take the time to reflect on ourselves. Take the time to think, what kind of mentation do we have? How well is our mind? And there are quite a few tests online that you can check to see if you are depressed. Of course, the tests that you're gonna find can't tell, are not designed to diagnose you as a depressed person, but they can give you an idea of where you stand mentally. One of the ones that we recommend is the PHQ-9. The PHQ-9, the Patient's Health Questionnaire. It's a list of questions that you can ask yourself and answer them and see if you're
if you fall into the spectrum of depression,
right? And decide to call for help. All right. So we're gonna go through these questions quickly, and we're gonna see if you're depressed.
Oh, I get to answer it.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. But before I ask the first question, though, one thing that we need to explain is that all these signs that we just talked about, we all experience them. All right? At some point in our lives, we all experience them. There are days that you don't feel like getting up. You don't feel like getting out of bed. There are days that, okay, you go to work, your boss yelled at you, and then you feel like, okay, you're going to get mad. You're going to get angry. So these feelings, they are normal feelings. But what's going to make the difference between a normal feeling and the depression is the time. how long do you have these feelings for?
Yeah.
And in this test, you're gonna see they're not asking you questions about how you feel right now, but about how you felt for the past 2 weeks. All right. So, like for example, we have the first questions would be, do you have little interest or pleasure in doing things? And the answers would be not at all, several days, more than half a day, the days, more than half the days, nearly every day for the past 2 weeks.
Right.
All right. So, and at the end, we get a score. All right. So, do you have little interest or pleasure in doing things?
For the past 2 weeks?
Yeah.
Not at all.
Wow. Okay. Okay. That's good. That's good. But do you feel down, depressed, or hopeless?
For the past 2 weeks, not at all.
All right. So, got to. So basically, you can feel down or depressed or hopeless. It's either of them. All right. What about trouble falling asleep, staying asleep, or sleeping too much?
I wish I slept more, so I guess not at all.
All right. All right. So I'm not gonna calculate your score. That's right.
I mean, that's fine. Go ahead. Calculate away.
So sometimes you can be. Some people who are depressed, they'll be sleeping all day, all night. Others, they just can't sleep. All right. Or even if they fall asleep, they have to wake up during the night, and that's one of the things that I've checked for myself at several days because sometimes I have trouble falling asleep, sometimes I have trouble staying asleep, but and also I think that's related to my work schedule that's varies so much. It's hard for me to have a good rhythm. Feeling tired or having little energy.
Okay, let's say more than half the days.
Half the days. Okay.
Okay.
All right. It's probably the same for me too, because sometimes I feel very tired. I feel very tired right now.
Yeah.
Poor appetites or overeating.
I guess I'll say overeating. I say more than half the days.
Okay. And probably these past 2 weeks I lost control of my diet, so I gotta get back to that. Feeling bad about yourself, or that you are a failure, or have let yourself or your family down.
At this current moment, no, not at all.
These past 2 weeks.
Oh yeah, past 2 weeks, no.
Yeah. Not at all for me as well. Trouble concentrating on things such as reading the newspaper or watching TV, or studying, reading any books really.
No.
Yeah, not too much issue with that for me as well. I mean, I like audiobooks. I can concentrate on that. Moving or speaking so slowly that other people could have noticed. Or the opposite, being so fidgety or restless that you have been moving around a lot more than usual. You can see we look a lot at extremes during the test. You see extreme, not eating at all, overeating, moving slowly, or moving too quickly. So the extremes, they are the one that we are really looking at. Now, for me, no changes. For me, I think that I'm moving well. Nobody told me anything.
No, for me, I would say no as well.
Well, and the last but not least,
Very important one.
thoughts that you would be better off dead or of hurting yourself in some way.
No.
I want to live. I have a lot to live for. Well, I have her, I have my kids. So I love life, so I have a lot to live for.
Amen.
So basically, these are about 9 questions. Okay, like I said, there are other tests out there. There are some tests that are more extensive. Some that you even have to pay for. This is a free one, and we will put the link in the description box on our YouTube video. So if you're not watching this video on YouTube, go on our channel, Wellbeing Makes Sense, and you can find the link in the description below. So you need to do this for yourself, and so that you can see how well you are thinking. And the most important thing about this is honesty. You need to learn to be honest with yourself, all right? And in addition, you need to do this with your children, especially the teenagers, the young men, the young adults. You know, especially from the range that we talk about, from 15 to 29. You need to sit down with them.
I would take it a step further. As we know in the news lately, there has been kids as young in the elementary level, school age level, that are killing themselves. So I would say, as parents, be watchful of your kids. You need to know the daily activities. If there's a change in terms of how they act, how they behave, how they respond, these are signs that you can catch early on. So I would extend that to lower than 15.
Yeah. Now, and if your child is crying a lot, having a lot of pain, or is very withdrawn, you need to check that out as well. All right. So don't let sometimes as parents we tend to be biased toward our kids. We think that our kids are fine because we are doing the best we can as parents for them. So we think that they are fine. We think that they are enjoying life. We need to learn to put aside our biases and take an objective look at our kids. We have that thought that my kid will never put a gun to his head and shot himself. My kid will never take a razor and cut his wrist. So put out your bias aside and work with your child. Keep an eye on how your child is doing mentally. Do the test, and every few months, check again to see if everything is doing good. All right. So, and if things are bad, if you're having thought of suicide, or if your child is having thought of suicide, please call the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, and the number is
1-800-273-8255.
And we will put it again in the description box. So this is where we are wrapping up for today. So this is the first part of our discussion on depression. So today we talk about the signs and symptoms, and we encourage you to do the test, the PHQ-9. And next week we'll talk about how to prevent depression and treat it naturally. So we'll see you next week. So stay safe. God bless you.
Hope you enjoyed the video. See you next Friday.